Awesome. So welcome everyone here to the masterclass. We're going to get officially started in just another minute, but I wanted to welcome you all and let me know in the chat, where are you joining me from today? We were just talking in the chat here about how hot it is in so many parts of the country, including where I live here in Southern Colorado. We're seeing hundreds, which we usually see a couple times a year, but it's like really, really a long time that we're seeing that. So welcome, Carrie. South Alabama, you've got the heat and the humidity. Steve from Tennessee, welcome everyone. And so today we're going to be talking about the 4 phases to stop divorce and attract your spouse back to you. So let me know in the chat, what is your situation right now with your spouse? For most of you, because most of our audience, you're going to be facing divorce. Your spouse maybe has already filed for divorce. Maybe they're already talking to a lawyer. Maybe you're currently separated. They're having an affair. Maybe you had an affair. Let me know in the chat what is going on with you guys so that I can serve you best. I want this to be a dialogue, not just a monologue. So make sure you weigh in on the chat when I do exercises with you guys as we go through this masterclass today. The chat is the best way for me to know where you're at and how to serve you best. So put in the chat, put in the comments, what is your current marriage situation? Separated 2 days before you had your 5th baby. All right. I'm a mom of 8, so I understand a little bit about having a large family and your marriage struggling at the same time. In fact, I've been married 18 years with my husband, almost 18 years, correction, 17 and a half years with my husband, Ben. And when we were expecting our 6th baby is when our marriage struggled the most. And I'm going to show you how I was able to turn that around, even though he didn't want, even though he was totally checked out, he was stonewalling me, giving me the silent treatment. I use the same process in my own relationship. And now we've helped tens of thousands of couples do exactly that. So I see a lot of your comments coming in. We will answer and reply to every single one that we get. So thank you guys for weighing in over there. All right, so what are we going to discover today in the masterclass? You're going to learn what to say, what to text, what to do to get your spouse to stop pulling away more. Who here would love to know that? I'd love to know what to say, what to text, and what to do so they stop pulling away more. Maybe you feel a little bit like I did when my marriage was really struggling, that no matter what I did, even the positive things, working on myself, doing the love languages, doing the love dare, going to therapy, all of those things they were either ineffective, they didn't work, or they actually backfired. So let me know in the chat if that sounds familiar. You feel like everything you're doing is only making things worse, or it's just not making things any better. Things aren't, everything that you're doing right now just doesn't seem to be very effective. All right. Next one here. We're also going to talk about the one thing you're probably doing right now that's actually backfiring and you don't even know it. Plus, how to flip the script and get your spouse to want to be with you. I'm talking like eager, craving, chasing after you. Sound good? Plus, how to avoid $30,000 or more in divorce fees while keeping your marriage intact. Not only do we keep your marriage intact, it's going to be better than it ever was. Who here would love to see that? That sounds too good to be true, Jake. Okay, awesome. I appreciate the honesty. I'm going to show you how we've helped tens of thousands of couples do exactly that. Even when their spouse was wanting a divorce, even when they had an affair, even when they weren't talking to them, even when they were resistant to working on the marriage. So I'm going to dive into that. Before we go into the process, though, just a little bit about who we are. Some of you, I see familiar faces here. You're saying, yes, please, that would be great. Awesome. Some of you have been talking to you on Facebook. Some of are on TikTok, some on YouTube. So welcome, friends. I'm excited to connect with you here. But maybe you don't know much about us. Maybe you just barely found out about High Thrive Coaching. So I'm Heather Choate, and 8 years ago, Mark Johnston, my business partner, and I came together to create High Thrive Coaching. And we did that because we knew that something needed to change, right? You guys know this. Divorce rates have been increasingly on the rise, despite more self-help books, podcasts, and information all claiming to have the solution, right? We saw, probably like you are, none of that is working. So we created this scientifically proven 4-step process to stop divorce and flip the script so that your spouse is the one chasing after you. And not only do we use this exact method in our own marriages, like I mentioned, I've been married 17 and a half years, Mark's been married 18 years, and this has saved our marriages when they were really struggling. But now we are the most sought after marriage experts in the world. We are best-selling authors. We've recorded over 150 podcast episodes. Our Facebook group here, I've got it streaming live to you guys. Hi, Thriving Marriage. I love you, Thrivers. Over 40,000 members in our Facebook group there. And now we're here to show you how you too can turn your marriage around. So this masterclass and training is for you if your couple A, your spouse wants a divorce, separation, they're unwilling to work on the marriage. So let me know if that is you. Couple B would be your spouse is having an affair, multiple affairs, you've had multiple affairs. Or couple C, your spouse won't talk with you about the marriage, they won't open up to you. So let me know in the chat, which of these is your primary problem? What is the one that you're dealing with the most? I see all three, couple A, B, and C, A and B, A. All right, thank you guys for weighing in on that in the chat. I see a lot of A's definitely coming in. A-ish, mostly C, A and C, A and C, A and C, C. Okay, wow. So A, B, and C, you got all of them across the board. Awesome. Thank you guys for weighing in on that. That helps me know what I can go deeper in with you guys today. Now, I want to start with an exercise here, and I want you to ask yourself these two questions. Where do I want my marriage to be 3 months from now? 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. I really want you to think about where you want your marriage to be, not where it is, not all the problems, not all the obstacles, not how hopeless it seems to get there, not how it seems too good to be true. I want you to think about where you want your marriage to be 3 months from now. If I had a magic wand and I could wave it, I don't, but if I could, where would you want it to be? Okay. I'm going to give you the next best thing though, which is our process that helps you get there. And then think about how will it feel to get there? How will it feel to have your husband, to have your wife in love with you again, talking with you again, willing to work on the relationship, committed to you again? For some of you guys, it's going to look like rings back on your fingers, right? Coming back home. All right, I see some comments coming in here. At least dating each other. I feel like I'm dying without him. Brand new, like if we just got married all over again. If he chooses me, oh my gosh, it would feel amazing. Awesome. So what kind of things would you talk about at the end of the day? What kind of dates would you want to go on? What kind of vacations might you want to plan? How would you look at each other? Like, what would the expression be on their face when you got home at the end of the day, or you greet each other at the end of the day? What would be the feeling in your body as you greet each other? How would you love to greet each other? What kind of things would you talk about? How would you feel as you lay down to go to bed at night? Would you have that feeling of peace and ease, like that burden is just lifted off your shoulders? You can actually sleep at night. You wake up, you're full of energy, you're full of enthusiasm, you go to work and you're able to focus at work or focus with your kids. You can be present, right? I really want you to tap into this. In fact, because Mark and I and High Thrive Coaching, we've helped so many tens of thousands of couples. I found that this is a huge indicator of success or failure in your relationship, is your ability to decide what kind of relationship you want to have. See, so many people are stuck on what is. They're stuck on the pain, they're stuck on the hopelessness, they're stuck on the drama, they're stuck on the fear. And they tend to focus on that. And that's all they can see. It crowds the entire screen of their mind, their heart, their energy, their emotion, right? What we want to do is say, you know, I'm not happy with where we are. I am scared. It does seem hopeless, but this is what I want. This is where I want to go, and get clarity on that destination, right? We know that the power of choosing a destination increases the likelihood of getting there. But if you don't know where you want to go, then we're kind of like ships out on the ocean, just being left adrift. And the storms of life are just beating us and tearing us to shreds. So when you choose where you want to go, then you're able to make those course corrections necessary to get to that destination. So you guys have made a powerful choice here that you've decided, this is where I want to go. I want her to trust me again, intimate, my son feels secure again. I'm all above. Yes to all of that. Would be honored, the most honored man in the world. I would feel safe, appreciation, actually noticing me, seeing me. I want to be fun and loving, be able to hold her again. It would feel wonderful if he chooses me. Yeah, it would be amazing. It would gain her trust. So you guys have made a powerful decision. This is where you want to go. And now we are here to help you get there. And I'll show you exactly how we do that. So let's dive into this. This is our 4 phases to stop a divorce. You'll see it's a very high level overview here, and we're going to dive into each and every single one of these steps. The first step or phase is planning and mindset. Then we go into resistance to the treatment plan that we give you. Your spouse is going to be resistant. We expect that, and we'll show you exactly why we use that to our advantage and how. Third is the pause button, where your spouse is going to hit pause on pulling away from you anymore. And then we go into them taking steps towards you, flipping the script where they start pursuing you and chasing after you instead of the other way around. How good would that feel? And we go into deep healing cycles to fully restore the relationship. So they want to be with you and they give you their heart fully again. Does that sound fair? All right, let's dive into this. So the first step and phase of this process is what we call mindset. And this is really all about increasing your level of hope. Here we want to get out of what I call backfiring negativity. And I'll show you why this negativity is really sabotaging you right now from everything that you want to have. So a huge mistake that most people make, in fact, the vast majority of people we talk with every week about their marriage, have little to no hope that it will work out. In fact, let me know in the chat. Let's just do a little exercise here. Let's check in. I want to take your temperature on how much hope you have. So let's rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being you have absolutely no hope. You think it's dead in the water. You think there's no chance ever for them coming back. You have a restraining order. You haven't seen each other in like 2 years. They've already moved on and living with another person. They already have another family. That would be no hope. Okay. Now in the middle, you're going to step up into levels of like, I don't know how I can get them to when they're not talking to me. I'd be like a 2, 3, 4. And they're not taking much initiative here. None of my efforts are working. I'm not so certain it's going to work. All the way up to level 10. 10 being, I know it's going to work. In fact, we're already blissfully in love. They've already come home to me, and I know that we're committed and happy for the rest of our lives, right? So let me know on that scale there, where are you in your hope? Let me know in the comments. I'm seeing a 0 to 1, a 6, a 0, a 5, hasn't left the house yet, but 0 communication, 3, 4, 7, 7. Awesome. Okay, 7 and a 5, 6 plus 4 to 5. All right, thank you guys again for weighing in. So let's talk about what hope really is and what it's not, okay? So maybe you're saying, I think there's no hope. This seems too good to be true. I saw some comments like that, right? I feel like this is hopeless. Everyone's telling me I should just move on. Everything I'm doing isn't working. And when you feel this way, we call this the negativity cycle. You start thinking this, you start believing this, you may even think that this is a harmless thought and that it actually isn't affecting your spouse or your relationship, right? It's actually a huge error, and I'm going to show you why in a minute. But first, let's go through this negativity cycle. So when you say there's no hope, or you start to think this, or you start to believe this, it actually makes it harder for your spouse. Because what happens is that you, whether you realize or not, are acting in a hopeless way, right? Our thoughts, our emotions lead to our thoughts, lead to our actions, right? So we're feeling scared, we're feeling rejected, we're feeling hopeless. So then we start to think hopeless thoughts, and then we start to act in hopeless manners. And you may not realize this, but you are doing this in front of your spouse, and they see this behavior from you. Even if you're saying, I'm going to work for my marriage, I'm going to, show them that I'm this new person, I'm going to work on myself, all these positive things, but you're still doing it from a place of fear, your spouse senses it, and they're going to pull further away from you. Not only does it make it harder for your spouse, it makes it harder for yourself emotionally, because what happens is we start to go into some erratic behavior. We might be full of hope at one moment and feel really positive. We might have a great conversation, and then the next day our spouse pulls away from us, and then it plummets us right back into fear. We get triggered by this pattern, and then we go into blaming them, or we go into, all of these different emotional situations where we start to behave in some erratic ways. You might start checking your spouse's phone. You might even start stalking your spouse, going to the affair partner's house. I mean, we've seen everything, right? Leaving the house when you really shouldn't, saying, I'm going to separate from you. I'm going to go in the basement. I'm going to sleep on the couch. I'm going to leave the house, when that's really not the best thing for your marriage. Or even making threats to them, all of these different things. These are kind of this dysfunctional, erratic behavior that we see happen. The more you believe that there isn't hope, then the harder you are making it for your spouse, yourself, and us as the experts who are here to help you, okay? And so what we want to do is shift this. Sound fair? Yeah, I'm seeing 100%. That's exactly what happens to me. So again, our mindset comes from our attitude, our emotions, our behaviors, our actions. What we want to do is shift this so that you guys get out of this hopeless behavior that is actually self-sabotaging you and your marriage. So when we're talking about changing emotions, thoughts, and actions, that usually takes years. And most of us may have heard, like, you should just work on yourself, or you should become a better version of yourself. You should just, become more positive, these kind of things. But changing these patterns based on these fearful, painful emotions that you're feeling can take a long time, typically, right? And we don't have a lot of time, right? If your spouse is pulling away, they're having an affair, they want a divorce, they want out, they're not willing to talk with you, time's not on your side. Agreed? So what we help you do is do this within the first week of coaching with us in our marriage mindset workshop. We immediately address these feelings of pain and hopelessness that you're experiencing, these emotions of fear, because they're all very normal and very natural. But if you stay stuck in them, you're going to continue to exhibit that erratic behavior that might, you might feel really hopeful again for 1 minute, and then you're pulling away the next. You might go into demanding, pleading, manipulating, begging, acting out of desperation, or freezing yourself. All of those, we call those the push behaviors, and they're only going to push your spouse further away. And so what we help you do is process through those emotions and get out of this hopeless state, because it's not serving you, it's not serving your spouse, and it's not serving your marriage. When you're feeling hopeless, you've disconnected yourself from that destination that you said you want to go. And it's like, I've got a lifeline and I'm throwing it to you, but you're not willing to take it because you're just like blinded by your own hope, just like your spouse is blinded by their addiction to divorce. We'll go into that deeper later. Yeah. I'm guilty of pushing already and been erratic. And yes, I've been there, seeing your comments there. Another huge mistake that a lot of people make in their mindset is applying the wrong solution to the wrong problem. It's vital that you actually know what's really going on in your marriage so that you can apply the correct solution to the correct problem. See, most people don't really know why their spouse is saying what they're doing or why they're acting the way that they are. They don't know why they continue in this destructive behavior or these very hurtful actions. And so they go about jumping into action without knowing if that action is the right solution for that problem. They don't know what the problem really is, and they don't know if the solution is really going to work. Does that sound like good directions to get you to the destination you want to go? Right? You've decided where you want your marriage to be 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. And it's vital that you know that every decision that you're making and every action that you're taking is heading you in that right direction. And that's why it's so important that we really understand what is going on underneath the surface of why your spouse says, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Underneath the surface of why they say, well, I don't believe that you're ever going to change. or you say that you're going to change, but you never do. And I'm not happy here. I want out, or I want to find myself, or whatever it is that your spouse is saying. We call that the narrative. We're going to go deeper into that here in a little bit too. So the reality is that for most cases, we need some better understanding of what's going on underneath the surface. Okay. So instead of trying to do it yourself, guess at the solutions and exhaust yourself with all these things that don't work, wouldn't it be great to know exactly what's going on in your marriage, what will work and what will not, and how to get them to want to be with you? And my friends, isn't your marriage important enough not to risk getting this wrong, not to risk failing to get this right? For me, I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer at the age of 29 when I was pregnant with our 6th baby. And I made a decision, despite what the doctors were telling me, that I was not going to abort my baby, even though they told me I was risking my life. I was going to keep my baby and I was going to get through this. By the grace of God, if that's what he wanted, I was going to be willing to do anything and everything necessary to get to that outcome. Saving my life and my baby's life was so important, I couldn't risk getting it wrong. And I'm seeing in here, yeah, God bless you. Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. You guys are saying absolutely 100%. My marriage is too important to risk getting this wrong. Your marriage is one of the most valuable, and it's not, you can't even say valuable. It's like, you can't even put any words to how important that relationship is and how meaningful it is. So you cannot risk failing to get this right. You have to get this right so that you can look back at the end of your life knowing that no matter what happened, whether your marriage is saved or not, you have no regrets. And that's exactly what I did. I wanted to live my life and have my marriage when it was struggling during this cancer phase and have no regrets, knowing that I gave it everything I could to have it succeed. So that is why we do a deep marriage assessment here in the first phase in the mindset and assessment. It's so important to have guidance from an expert so you know what will work and what will not, right? It is not your fault that you haven't been able to save your marriage on your own. It is not. I'm not saying you don't have accountability for your part, because you do, and we have to take that accountability. But the bottom line is that most of us aren't taught how to save a marriage. We aren't taught how to communicate well. We aren't taught how to meet each other's needs. We aren't taught how to give and receive feedback. We aren't taught how to have healthy boundaries and keep them in a way that feels good to everyone. We aren't taught these things. So give yourself some grace. I wasn't taught how to save my body from cancer and save my baby. I wasn't taught how to do that. That's why I went to one of the top experts in the world that knew how to help pregnant women with cancer. And I went to her and followed exactly the treatment plan that she gave me. So almost no one can save their marriage on their own, just like I couldn't save my life or my baby's life on my own. That's why it's vital you have that expert guidance to help you to know what's really going on. One of my favorite sayings is that you cannot read the label when you're inside the bottle. We are all inside the bottle of our own marriage. We are so close to it, we cannot see it for what it really is. So it takes someone from the outside who knows how to read the label on your bottle to diagnose what's really going on and prescribe the exact treatment plan that you need to get to that result that you said you want. So that is why we offer a free marriage assessment. So let me know in the chat, do you want your marriage assessed by an expert? In fact, I'm going to put a link right here if you want to jump ahead and get it right away. You should see that link right there. Nope, I did it to hosts and panelists. Let me do it to everyone. There we go. This is our Calendly link where you can book this free marriage assessment. And you can go ahead and book it right now before spots fill up very, very fast. In this assessment is where we're going to read the label on your bottle. We're going to see what's really going on. We're going to diagnose exactly what's happening in your relationship and prescribe the right treatment plan that you need to get to the result that you want. So awesome. I see a lot of you. Yes, yes, yes on the assessment. Yes, yes, I need it. Yes, please. Awesome. Absolutely. So go ahead and click that link and you guys can get that free marriage assessment with us right away. Now, as we go through this assessment phase, as we do this assessment, we're going to uncover a very vital part of reading the label, okay? We're going to uncover your spouse's narrative. Now, your spouse's narrative, I mentioned a little earlier, this is the belief or story that your spouse has about you right now. So let me know in the chat, what do you think your spouse's narrative is? Are they saying, I can't trust you? You had an affair, trust is broken, it's over. Or I can't forgive myself. You deserve better than me. Is that your spouse's story? Is their story, I love you, but I'm not in love with you? Awesome. I see some of you already scheduled. Beautiful. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, trust due to substance abuse, trust with disrespect. What about you control me? I don't have any freedom here. I don't have a voice. You aren't emotionally supportive of me, right? What is your spouse's story? We keep having the same problems, doesn't want to keep with the cycle, but he loves me. Yeah, that's his story. Communication is their story. Like, we just can't communicate. We don't understand each other. I don't feel respected. Yes. So my friends, you can see that everyone here has a spouse with a story about them and about the relationship. And we discovered, after working with tens of thousands of couples, it is vital to uncover what your spouse's story is and the root issues causing them to believe that story. Remember the iceberg? We've got to go underneath the surface to find out what is really causing them to believe this about you. Because until we do that, we won't be able to change that story. They're going to hold on to it. Why are they going to hold on to it? Because for them, it's either a defense mechanism, it's keeping them from pain, right? It's a defense mechanism to try to protect themselves, or it's kind of a justification or excuse for what they're doing. They know that it's painful, they know that it's destructive, and that's a way for them to justify or excuse what they're doing so they don't have so much guilt about it. So they will hold on to this story like a lifeline for them until we show them that it's safe to let it go. And that's exactly why we need to do the assessment to know what it really is. And then we look at the patterns going on between you right now. So you are in a pattern right now with your spouse. I'm in a pattern with my spouse. There's a certain way that you greet each other at the end of the day, or you don't greet each other. There's a certain way you talk about problems, or you don't talk about problems. Maybe you get defensive and you blow up. Maybe they blame you. Maybe there's a lot of volatility. Maybe there's just stonewalling and coldness. But whatever it is, right now you're in a certain pattern with your spouse. And what we want to do is identify what that pattern is. And there are behaviors that you're both in. You are both contributing to this pattern. And when we can say, okay, I see that you're in a pattern of really pushing her. You're like full court press on her right now, and it's causing her to back away more. It's going to be specific to where your marriage is, right? Then we're going to change that pattern and show you how to interrupt that pattern with what we have developed called home messages. These messages bring you back home to where you want to go. So you guys said, I want them to trust me. Maybe they're saying, I can't trust you. And so you're going to say, I really would love for you to trust me. And you do behaviors that are going to demonstrate trustworthiness, that are going to demonstrate respect, understanding, whatever it is. We're going to identify what their narrative is, what the pattern is, and then what the home message is that needs to happen to show them that they can let the story go. So as we go through this process, this is what changes their story about you, okay? And we're going to give you in the first week what we call a relationship restoration plan. You'll see this is blurred out. It's just an example of the kind of what the plan typically looks like, but there aren't any specifics on there. But as we go through this plan with you, we're going to clearly identify those problems and the patterns that are preventing your spouse from wanting to come back to you, preventing them from talking with you, preventing them from trusting you, okay? And then we're going to craft that home message with you to help shift and change their story, to help them let that go and feel safe with you so they want to work on things with you. Then we're going to give you self-improvement steps. We're going to look at your level of hope. And if there's any of those vestiges of hopelessness in you that's backfiring and self-sabotaging you, we're going to shift you out of that. Now, after we created the relationship restoration plan with you, now it's time to implement it. So before I go on to the next step, I want to show you how this works in reality, because I told you guys in the email and the posts and stuff that you guys got about this masterclass that I would show you some radical transformations. So Maisha shares, with permission, my husband has put back on his wedding band. I never knew how much I missed seeing that on his finger. He was dead set on divorce, not willing to talk with her, not willing to go to therapy, not willing to have any willingness to work on the relationship at all, completely checked out. So to go from that point, we helped her identify, what is your spouse's narrative? Why is he believing this way? Why is he so addicted to this idea of divorcing you? Why does he think he's going to be happier, right? Why is that his end goal? Why is that the destination he's chosen? Now let's unravel that. Let's unpack that. Let's look at the patterns that you're in right now, Maisha, and what is your part of this? Now let's shift those patterns, create a new home message so that he starts to see you in a new light. He starts to see you for who you really are. He starts to become curious about who you are and become attracted to you and want to take steps towards you. That he chooses of his own volition to put back on his wedding band, to come back home, to work on the relationship, to show commitment. Okay, so that's how this works in reality. Another one, Monica shares, this one's a little tiny. Let me see if I can zoom in. Oh, snap, I did it. All right, Monica, when he wants to work on our relationship marriage, we both agree we have a long road ahead of us to repair and grow from what brought us to the brink of divorce. I am hopeful for our future and grateful for the guidance and mindset help I've gotten through this course so far. This is the first time since last January that my husband has made any declaration that he's willing to try. Beautiful. All right. Let me get my slides working here. There we go. So that's how things work in reality, because I believe results don't lie. And I want to give it to you real and raw. And we have thousands and thousands of these stories. You can see them on our website. You can see them on our podcast. You can see them on our YouTube channel. Go dig into it. You want social proof? We've got it. This works in so many relationships. All right, now let's move on to the second phase. After we go through planning and mindset, your spouse is going to become resistant to the treatment plan. Remember, we're going to read the label on your bottle, diagnose what's really going on, prescribe the right treatment plan, and start to implement the treatment plan. As we start to implement the treatment plan, your spouse is going to be resistant to that treatment plan. What we do, which is radically different than anything anyone else does, is we actually embrace their resistance as part of the healing process. All right, so let me know, let's check in here. On a scale of 1 to 10, how resistant is your spouse to you right now? 1 being they are not resistant to you at all. They're willing to talk to you about anything. And 10 being like they are completely blocked you, haven't talked to you for 2 years. They've got restraining order, court order against you. Okay, that's the level of resistance that they would have at a level 10. Yeah, I see your LOL there. Yeah. 20. Okay, yeah, that's really high there. 10, 4, 9, 7, 5, 6 to 7, 6, 8, 3 to 4. All right, so some of you might be like, we're friends, like we're stuck in the friend stage. They say they love me, but they're not in love with me, but they're willing to talk about things. You definitely be more around this area. So we got most of you in the more resistant stage, and that's okay. Now, my friends, I'm going to reveal something to you. As you do the treatment plan, your spouse's level of resistance is going to increase. And we actually want that. That might seem like the weirdest thing you've ever heard in your life. Why would we want your spouse to become more resistant? If they're becoming more resistant initially at this phase, it means that the treatment plan is working. It means that you've made more changes that your spouse is noticing. And because they're noticing, what's going to happen to that self-defense mechanism? What's going to happen to the reason why they want out, right? What's going to happen to their excuses and their justification? Are they going to just suddenly in 2 weeks, just like, oh, I see that you're a new person. I believe that. I'm coming home to you. No, that would be like the magic fairy wand that we don't have. It doesn't exist, right? They're going to dig their heels in more. You guys understand this, right? And that means that you're doing the right things. We call this our push versus pull method. And Some of the biggest mistakes that most people make, in fact, I'll be the first to raise my hand and say I've made all of these, give up way too soon. You give into the hopelessness and you say, I can't do this anymore, and you give up way too soon. Pushing for commitment or connection too soon. Demanding that your spouse works on the marriage with you. Manipulate them to try to get them back. Beg, plead, act out of desperation. Freeze out of fear because you don't know what to do, so you end up doing nothing. Blaming your spouse for everything or blaming yourself for everything. So let me know in the chat, which of these have you done or you are currently doing? These are some of the erratic behaviors that we're talking comes about from fear and hopelessness. Guilty of every single one, all of them, a lot of them. I'll never give up on her, you blame yourself, all the things. Freezing, yep, scared to do anything because I don't want to make it worse. Thank you guys for checking in and being so honest about that. These are all of the behaviors, a lot of them, all of them, everything. These behaviors come, those are those erratic behaviors that come from your emotional state. Your emotional state, who is in control of that? You guys all know this, you are. However, give yourself grace because most of us can't help but go to these fearful, hopeless states. And we're here again to help you shift out of that, to process through those emotions and to go into what actually works to make your spouse want to work on things with you. Not only will you feel better because you won't be in this fearful, hopeless state anymore, but your spouse will notice the difference. And that is what's going to help them to hit the pause button, which is the next phase coming up. All right. So instead of trying to make your spouse be less resistant to you, right? I just wish they weren't so resistant. I wish they would just talk to me. I wish they would just tell me what's going on. I wish they would just leave the affair partner. I wish they would just stop with the divorce, right? Any of those thoughts are only going to push your spouse away more. We've got to get out of that thinking, okay? We're actually going to use that resistance to our advantage. And we're going to see it for what it really is that because you are making changes, you are interrupting the pattern that they're in, they're going to dig in their heels even more into their story about you, their narrative about you. And again, that's a sign that things are working. So why are we even seeing resistance? We're seeing resistance because if the relationship has gotten to the point where there is consideration of leaving, they don't really trust the change. They trust their story or their narrative about you more, and they become addicted to that story. It's a justification, it's a defense mechanism, and they're going to want to hold on to it. And they get so wrapped up into it that it becomes like an addiction, just like alcoholism, drug addiction, anything else. Your spouse is probably addicted to divorce at this point. Would you guys agree with me? They keep coming back to it like it's the only thing they can see, just like an alcoholic comes back to the drink no matter how many times they don't want to. It's the only thing that they think is going to help them. It's the only way out for them. And they're going to continue to do all these destructive behaviors, these erratic behaviors themselves, because they're so addicted to this idea. Yep, 100%, absolutely. So raise your hand if you guys feel like your spouse is addicted to divorce and that they are resistant to working on things with you because of this addiction. Yes, yes. Okay. So in this resistance stage, what we're looking for here, it's not meant to see like immediate changes in the relationship, but you will be making immediate changes. The goal here is not meant to get you and your partner back together right at this moment, because your relationship is honestly not ready for that. It is, however, critical to creating some lasting healing. So what is the main focus point of the resistance stage? The main point here is we want to start to build up that new narrative. So you take your spouses, right? We've crafted that new narrative with you, that home message. And we do that through communication and actions consistent with what you're trying to build for your relationship. So what happens here is we go into these resistance cycles. We're going to identify, where is your spouse resistant? They don't even want to talk to me. Okay. They don't want to talk to me because maybe your spouse's story, as an example here, is that you don't respect me. I don't feel respected. You don't listen to me. You don't even try to understand where I'm coming from. That's your spouse's narrative. They don't even want to talk to you because they say you don't listen, you don't respect me. Now we're going to go to the home message. The home message being the opposite of what your spouse is saying. I am supportive of you. I am listening. I am respectful, right? And we're going to deliver that home message with action. So let's go deeper into a couple examples here. All right, let's say that their narrative is, you haven't been emotionally supportive of me for years. You haven't been emotionally supportive of me. And now the home message that we're going to craft with you would be the opposite of that, right? I am emotionally supportive of you. But saying that alone isn't enough, right? We have to back that up with action. And the actions are going to be expressing empathy and validation when your spouse expresses emotions. Because they're saying you're not emotionally supportive of me, then we're going to show them with our action that when they do express emotion, even the negatives, especially the negative ones, we're going to say, I see that you're really upset right now. I would like to support you in what you're feeling right now. I'd really like to understand where you're coming from. I can see this has been really hard for you. When they say, don't talk to me again, you can say, I see that you're really wanting to have some distance here, and I can respect that, right? So you're constantly coming back to, I am emotionally supportive of you. I am respecting you with your words and your actions. And what this does, why this works, is it's going to create that pattern interrupt, which get your spouse, sorry, getting tongue-tied. It gets your spouse's attention so they consider the possibility of being happy with you. They realize, oh my goodness, there's something different here about Sean and Jeremy and Jacob and Kim and Brian and Sarah. There's something different about Danielle and Alex and Aaron. There's something different. Why are they doing things different, right? And over time, it's going to shift their old narrative from a negative one of you and the relationship where they're resistant to your changes to knowing that these changes are real and believing the new narrative, believing that you are emotionally supportive of them, or you are trustworthy, or that you are romantic with each other, right? So they want to be with you, okay? So where do poor people normally get stuck here? This is a really important one. Many people, they just lose heart when their spouse doesn't respond immediately with positivity to the changes that they're making. Who here can raise their hand and say, I get that. I've done that myself. I'll be like, I'll read a self-help book or like listen to a podcast and be like, oh, I'm going to do that thing. And I go and I do it. And then I do it for a couple of days. And then my spouse, like he doesn't respond at all. And so I lose heart. I think, oh, it's not working, right? So many people, like we start making short-term changes, a few days, a couple of weeks, and then we don't follow through long enough to demonstrate real change for the relationship. And that's why it's so vital that you follow through on the entire coaching process so that your spouse becomes naturally attracted to you again. So takeaways here from phase 2. Let me know in the chat, in the comments, what are you picking up what I'm dropping down? Is this connecting with you? Do you see how instead of trying to fight your spouse's resistance, we're actually going to let them have that resistance right now because they need it. They're not ready to let it go. And trying to push them to let it go is only going to push them further away. We're going to let them have that resistance and show them with these home messages that there is something different about us, that we're interrupting those patterns, and that we are there to give them empathy and understanding, and how that's going to go so much further into helping them reduce that resistance over time and see the real you and love the real you. Okay, it's making sense, 100%. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, beautiful. If not, please leave a comment. Please leave a question here and we will answer them. All right. So how does this work in reality? All right, let me go over here real quick. I think we've got, is Coach Curtis on? Let me know if he hops on. My team member over here is going to be answering some of your questions. I just want to make sure that we're able to do that in the chat as well as me answering them live. So let's look at another real marriage. So this client shares anonymously though. Hi, Heather. Good morning. I just want to thank you guys for letting me join. I got some much needed insight with my coach yesterday, and my hope is at a 10. Believe it or not, but after just a short 2 weeks of taking off the pressure, she is coming around more so than she has in the last 12 months. So this client just sent this about a month ago, and Mark shared it with me, and I was so excited because this is what we see every day though. So for 12 months, he's been working on this and nothing was working. And then after just 2 weeks of following through on his treatment plan with us, taking off the pressure, interrupting the pattern, she's coming around more so than she ever had the previous 12 months. That is exactly how this works in reality. All right. Now let's go back to our 4 phases, and we're now diving into the pause button. As we go into the pause button, this is my favorite stage. This is where you have your spouse agree to give you some time. In fact, we've proven after working with tens of thousands of couples that if your spouse can agree to give you about 6 months of time before making a final decision about the relationship, your chances of restoring the relationship fully greatly increase. But a huge mistake most people make as they're going through these resistance cycles and as they're going through shifting their narrative with the home messages is that they try to resolve deep issues too soon. And this is like the traditional therapy model where you just kind of talk about things. You don't go deep into why exactly everything's happening. We actually do the opposite. So like a therapist is going to say, why did the affair happen? Why aren't you happy? Why won't you stay with me? And maybe you're tempted to ask these questions of your spouse as well. And this is a huge mistake, okay? Why this doesn't work. The reality is, if your spouse is wanting a divorce, if they're having an affair, then you need the ICU for marriages, not the general doctor. The ICU handles the most extreme cases, which is exactly what we do here at High Thrive Coaching. We are the ICU for marriages. The reality is why you need an ICU is that your marriage isn't strong enough to handle root issues right now. So let's just do an analogy here, where a patient is coming into the ER, into the ICU because they have a brain tumor. But the reason why they're coming into the ICU isn't for the brain tumor, it's because they're in cardiac arrest. So if a patient is in cardiac arrest, but they have a brain tumor, which are the surgeons going to help operate on right away? Right? Exactly. They're going to operate on the cardiac arrest, right? They're not going to go and do surgery on the brain tumor right now. They need to stabilize the patient so they're healthy enough and have a solid enough foundation in their body so they can handle the brain tumor surgery. You guys understand? So right now, your relationship is most likely not strong enough to handle talking about the affair, talking about why they want out, talking about, these deeper root issues. What we need to do is create some stability in the relationship first, some health in the relationship first. We need to reduce the tension and stop them pulling away more. So in the pause stage, this is where we begin the process of balancing things out a little bit and making more requests from your partner. So remember, this is only possible if you are able to objectively point out where you have been making those changes yourself. Otherwise, it is unlikely that you're going to get any amount of cooperation. That's why we have to go through those home messages, back them up with the action, and show the consistency. Now, a lot of you might be thinking at the beginning, like, Heather, I've got to identify my part of the pattern. I've got to make all these changes. I've got to change my mindset about the hopelessness of the situation. I've got to make all these shifts. And I know that sucks, right? Because you are the one making all the changes at the beginning. But eventually, here in the third stage, the pause stage, is where things start to balance out. So yes, I am asking you, and I'm telling you that the only way to turn things around is for you to go first. You have to be willing to save your marriage on your own at the beginning until the relationship is healthy and stable enough to get some cooperation from your spouse. Exactly. All right. I like this comment here. No, we are not condoning, but does it condone their poor behavior? We are not condoning their poor behavior, and we're not accepting or supporting or allowing their poor behavior. We're going to be putting in those pattern interrupts. So the pattern interrupts can often look like some healthy boundaries, and we'll show you how to do that in a way that doesn't backfire. So now that we've done those things, and we're here at the point where we want to have this conversation where we ask your spouse to hit the pause button, okay? And the pause stage is all about gaining some small amount of cooperation from your partner. It could be a pause on the intense arguments, like a pause on their poor behavior that you're talking about there, a pause on all the bitterness, maybe the blaming, the judgment, a pause on moving out of the house, and a pause on the divorce arguments. Why don't we ask for more at the beginning? Again, how would you ask your spouse to pause on the intense arguments on the divorce? Would you even know how to do that right now? Just be really honest. Could you go to your spouse right now and ask them, hey, do you mind pausing on these really intense arguments? Do you mind pausing on the divorce? Like, how would you even go about doing that? Right? And so let me know, like, do you feel like you have the ability to do that right now? Would your spouse receive that well? Right? Yeah, no, I don't know. Most of us have no clue exactly on how to go about doing that. Yep, nope, thank you for your honesty. I would do negative. It would not go over well. She'd probably pull away more. I don't, nope, no, exactly. So what we do is we walk you through this process on how to make this request. Yeah, my wife wants a pause. Okay. Yeah, Erin, if she wants a pause, agree to that. Absolutely 100%. Definitely pull away more. She's not completely ended the relationship yet. So essentially she has paused totally on ending. Good. Now there's other things that we can ask for pause on in the relationship as well. So we'll guide you on what not to do, what to do. Whoa, I went way ahead in my slide there. And we'll show you exactly the what, the how, the when, and the where. What to ask pause for, how to ask it, when to ask it, when is it the right time, and even where to do it. So we'll guide you through this and even go through some of the common responses and questions that your spouse might have as you go through this. I'd like to, but I have some concerns. I don't see how this will be any different. Well, where is this coming from? Any of those questions or responses will show you how to answer them. And we role play with you. This is something we do with our clients all the time. We rehearse the ask conversation with you, so then you are ready for the real thing. How does this work in reality? Kim says, win tonight. My husband came and picked the girls up for his week with them, and we talked for almost 6 hours. We were both very open and honest. He wants to come back and work things out with me, but he's scared that the changes won't be permanent. One step at a time. This is literally the best program I've ever tried. Thank you, Mark and Heather. And so she went through this process as well, where she identified what the narrative was, why her husband really wanted out, why he's saying the changes won't be permanent, right? They went through taking the pressure off. He starts taking steps towards her, right? He says he wants to come back. He says he wants to work things out. He's the one initiating the conversation. He also has some fear. He's still holding on to that story, right? And she knows it's part of the process. She knows that this resistance is okay. It's part of the healing, one step at a time. And then she goes into the pause button ask conversation, and her husband is willing now to work on the relationship with her. That brings us then into the final phase, which is where we go into deep healing cycles for the relationship to be restored fully. All right, and here's what this looks like. I'm going to show you, I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit. This is absolutely proprietary information. This is like what our coaches work on and like we train our team on, is this very custom approach to healing every single couple that we work with. So as we go through this, we do the big ask, right? We ask for pause on divorce. We ask for pause on the intense arguments. Then we're going to evaluate here. Where is your spouse at right now? And what type of spouse do you have at this point? Then we're going to go through the healing cycles for several weeks and reassess. So you'll see here the 4 main types of a couple. All right. After the pause button question, we say, are you willing to pause on divorce? Are you willing to pause on the intense arguments, whatever it might be, right? Are they hesitant? Are things slowing down? Are you in the slowing down phase? Are they still giving you a lot of resistance, negative action and negative narrative, negative behaviors happening? Or is it unsalvageable? And this is the negative action, extreme behaviors. And this is very, very rare, but we do help couples that even do end up in this level as well. Most of our clients end up in the orange category, where their spouse is still having a negative action and negative narrative, and we know exactly what to do to help them navigate to where they want to go. So let's say that they are in this orange category, like most of our clients are. We're going to go deep into showing you exactly how to help your spouse let go of that story or the belief about you and want to come back. Let me zoom in here if I can. So let's say that after you ask them to slow down, they're still pulling away from you. They aren't having a positive belief about you, right? How determined are they continuing with the separation process? This is how we look at our clients' marriages in depth, right? Specific to you, because your marriage is unique and you are unique. So it has to be customized to exactly where you're at. So let's say, okay, they're very determined to go forward with separation. Are they somewhat determined, or maybe they're just a little determined? You're going to go on a different path for each and every single one of those situations based on where your spouse is at. Let's say that they're very determined to still go forward with separation and divorce, even after we've done the home messages, even after we've made all these changes, even after you've worked on your own hopelessness, right? You now have hope. You're now working on things. You're now shifting the patterns. You made the ask, and they're still very determined. Okay. We say, yes. Okay. Have we tried backing off for a few weeks? Yes or no? What is preventing the progress here, right? How can we work on these? Are they working on expectations message for backing off, work on self-improvement, back off for 2 to 4 weeks. So now we're going to back off and take some of the pressure off. We're going to examine, is there affair? Yes or no? If there is an affair, how stable is the affair? Somewhat stable, not stable. Most affairs are really not stable. But even if they are stable, we'll show you exactly what to do to get your affair to end and to put in the appropriate consequences, the appropriate boundaries, right? Going to making you safe and protected through this whole process. So I'm showing you guys this so that you can see that no matter where you are at, and no matter what happens as we go forward through this healing process, we know exactly what to do to get you where you want to go. We say, okay, they're somewhat determined. Here we go. We're going to go down this route. They're just a little bit determined. Awesome. We know exactly what to do to help you get to the next level. And as we go through this process, you're going to progress more and more through every single one of those cycles to get to full restoration. Make sense? Awesome. So, like I mentioned, hundreds, thousands of client successes. Let's just look at a few of them. Jason says, you were a turning point for us, and I learned how to work on myself and to truly understand her. And now she's back with me and we're doing better than ever. Our kids are so happy and we're grateful to you. I really didn't believe this would work for me. This is Scott. You can go ahead and look at Scott's, he did a podcast interview with us and shared his story. So go ahead and look up Scott Murray. He's a fabulous man. And his wife was set on divorce last December. He says, we tried so many things. I thought it was over. So what the heck? There's nothing to lose in trying. Right away, I saw the progress and we created a positive momentum for us to the point now where she's moved back home and she wants to be with me. Carlos, huge win. She drove an hour to come see me and tell me she loves me. And we all will live under one roof again. God works in mysterious ways. We are still going, a little bit of a typo there. We are still going to work on both of us being better people, but I am ecstatic. I have my best friend back. So I want to see your best friend coming back. I want to see your husband or your wife coming back to you as you go through this process. So what we learned today, we learned that you cannot guess at what will work. You must know what will work. This can only be done properly through a marriage assessment where we read the label on your bottle. We diagnose what's really going on and we prescribe the exact treatment plan to get you where you want to go. We also learned that resistance is normal and expected. So we're going to use it to your advantage to interrupt the pattern between you and start to create a new positive narrative about the relationship that your partner is going to accept and believe. We learned that problems must be resolved in order. You can't solve them out of order, right? And you must hit the pause button with your spouse so your relationship can become strong enough to handle the root issues. Now, my friends, you have two options. You can go on it on your own and keep doing what you're doing, and you're going to keep getting the same results. Agreed? You keep doing what you've always been doing, you're going to get the same results. The definition of insanity is keep doing what you're doing and expect something different. Agreed? Or B, you can get our expert help. And if we work together, we'll do this. We will do that marriage assessment and show you how exactly to solve what the problems are that you need to solve and how to solve them With our one-on-one guidance, we'll show you what to text them, how to have in-person conversations, and what steps to take so that your efforts don't keep backfiring and you see that positive momentum in your relationship. We'll craft a new positive narrative that will demonstrate to your spouse with action that these changes are real, so they will trust the changes and believe the new narrative. They will see you in a new light, and my friends, they will love you and accept you for who you really are, which is what we all want at the end of the day. And we will solve problems in order so that you know that every action you take with your spouse is going to be moving you in the right direction. So now, on a scale of 1 to 100, how important is saving your marriage to you? Throw this in the chat. I need to know. On the scale of 1 to 100, how important is saving your marriage to you? 100, 100, 100, 100, 1,000, 1,000. Awesome. 100, awesome. The next step is to book your free marriage assessment with us, okay? This is where we're going to read that label on your bottle. We're going to diagnose what's really going on and prescribe the exact treatment plan that you need to get to that destination you said you want to go to. So go ahead and book your call right now. I just dropped the link again into the chat. It's our Calendly link. You should see, let me pull it up here, something just like this. Now, the good news is that we do have some spots open right now, you'll see. The bad news is they do fill up very, very quickly. We have over 30 people on right now. And so I anticipate that this will be gone in the next little while. Also, my friends, because you're here live with me on the masterclass, you have the first opportunity to book. I will be sending the replay of this masterclass out in the next 24 hours to our email list of over 80,000 people. And to our Facebook group of over 40,000 people. So it's going to become very, very full. If you're watching the replay and you're like, oh my goodness, Heather, I don't see any times available, make sure you check back because we will be opening up more spots as fast as we can to serve as many of you as possible. Now, I know you have questions, and that's good. We welcome all of your questions. That means you're a normal, beautiful human being. Let's get your spouse out of their addiction to divorce. Let's get them out of their addiction to their story or their belief about you. Let's show you exactly what you can do right now to turn your marriage around so that you don't live your life with any regret. Choose now to make this decision that you will not live your life with regret, because that is the biggest pain that any of us will ever face. Think about how you want to look back at this time at the end of your life. And I hope that this was peace of mind, knowing that you gave your marriage everything and that it was worth it. And that you learned how to have a healthy and functional marriage. And I want to hear your story. I want to celebrate you and how your spouse went from being dead set on divorce, maybe not even talking to you at all, to wanting to be with you and willing to work on the marriage with you. We are here to support you together in this journey. So my heart and my love, my appreciation goes out to you. You are an incredible, beautiful person, and I honor you for being willing to work on your marriage. And I cannot wait to see your marriage thrive. Can't wait to talk to you guys soon. And we'll talk again soon. And thank you again for coming.